What's up, everybody? It's Joe here with Joseph Blake Photography, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the plan that Canon has released, that they've laid out everything, well, mostly everything, for 2024 and what their plans are for cameras, for lenses, and for VR and 3D. Okay, so before we jump into the information, just real quick plug for the channel. I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe or the like button if this is the kind of thing that you're into. Again, my name is Joe. This is Joseph Blake Photography. This is my channel where we talk about gear and tech and news and reviews and go on some photo adventures from time to time. My focus is on the technology and techniques and gear that we use as creators to create cool stuff. So whether or not you're here on YouTube or TikTok or other areas of social media, or if you're out in that corporate world, or if you're creating things on your own as an independent, this is the channel for you, where we talk about fun stuff and things that can potentially make your job easier, better, and maybe a little bit more exciting down the road. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a presentation that Canon gave to investors, or that they released publicly, about the kinds of direction that they want to take things. And the most interesting thing I think in here is the components related to VR, AR, and 3D. And this is kind of a recap of their 2023 strategy, and it goes into some of the things that they are doing in 2024. So what they've done is they've taken their kind of core competencies, the things that they do as a company, and kind of said, okay, we do shooting and viewing, right? And what we want to do is we want to move those things out into different experiences. They want to expand from not just shooting and viewing, but also to experience and utilization. So this is kind of a corporate jargon move for kind of a reorganization within their company at some of their specific areas of interest. And where that will actually matter for you is specifically in that kind of experience side. So I'm going to assume that most of the folks that are watching my channel are not super into network cameras and imaging solutions or advanced surveillance, although those are things that I've used in the past. And especially if you're doing a lot of presentations or a lot of broadcast from places like conference centers or churches, things like that, you might be using some of this network camera gear, some of this surveillance style gear. But that, kind of moves over into the IP remote camera area, where they see maybe moving some of the technology from their cinema EOS and professional camcorder market into that remote camera component, kind of for fixed function, things like that. But specifically looking at things like new concept cameras, volumetric video, mixed reality, and VR in the EOS side for a 3D experience. Notice that this is a huge component of this slide. This tells me that Canon is going to be pushing more and more into mixed reality, volumetric shooting, and VR and AR as a core component of them moving forward. Cameras, to be quite honest, are reaching a point where even with the switch over to mirrorless, still kind of something that people are doing, the companies themselves need to be 2 or 3 or 4 years ahead at least of the consumer that they're shooting for. So they need to plan in advance for the types of things that they're going to be shooting. So it looks like, especially for the kind of consumer, or not consumer, but kind of prosumer content creator and professional market, they are going to start offering more and more 3D, VR, and AR options for hardware and technology for this segment. Whether or not that's something that's going to work, I don't know. I don't personally see myself utilizing that type of technology. I'm definitely, I'm a 2D guy. So I definitely don't see myself going this direction, but Canon seems to think that this is the direction that the market is going, at least at a certain component. If we keep scrolling here, they kind of talk about what their expectations are for the future. So they're currently seeing 861 billion yen as their current kind of overall revenue, with a significant component of that coming from network camera and other components. And that another percentage of it is coming from more than 50%, but not a lot more than 50%, is coming from cameras, with a almost 17% profit margin. What they're seeing over the next 2 years is an increase in revenue at about 60 to 70 billion yen per year, but a dip in their profit margin. Now, You might know this if you've watched the channel for a little while, but this is not my full-time job. I'm actually in healthcare. I'm a manager. This is the business side pokes out for me. What this tells me is that they've gone through a significant transition in technology that has generated a considerable amount of revenue and margin, profit dollars for them. And I think we're talking lenses here. And that is going to effectively level out, that's not going to increase over time, that they'll stay at 16 to 17%, and that their revenue targets will start to kind of cap out, which is why they're probably pushing into these other areas. So now if we keep looking at kind of challenges, right, they see significant sales and profit growth in 2021 and 2022, but whether or not that's going to continue as they've kind of pushed these things forward, that they see new cameras or new business enhancing their 3D areas and ultra high sensitivity cameras as being the areas where they're really going to be able to push. So they want to maintain growth and diversify the areas that they're offering products. Okay. So this is how they see themselves establishing an absolute position in the mirrorless market. Number one, they continue to be the number one seller in lenses. If you notice, that number keeps going up and up and up, and then you see it level out with an expectation in 23, 24, and 25. Honestly, at 6 million units, I think they're seeing that level out because honestly, I think they're kind of done making RF lenses. They might have more, but not a ton more. Like they're not completely replacing an entire catalog of lenses like they were before when they first introduced the RF system. Also, previous videos that I've done end up being correct. They're going to start getting third-party vendors out into the lens market. So they're expecting 6 million units a year for the next 2 or 3 years. Notice from 2020 to 2023, a huge increase in the number of cameras that they were delivering, but they see that leveling off. Again, the R system is pretty established now. But then if you look into the kind of two areas where they identify their cameras, the creator market, the press and social media posting market, and the professional market, what they're seeing here is that they want to push more to and extend more to video-oriented customers, like creators, right? Those are the folks that are watching this channel. Those are the folks that want to hit like and subscribe. Press, as well as social media posters, right? Folks who are generating content for social media, either internally or externally. And I love that they've got this kind of line of demarcation between your full frame and your APS-C, but they're all still kind of included. I have no idea what the EOS RP is doing on this list like this. I don't understand. But extending more options to video-oriented customers and continuing support for pros is how they see expanding and enhancing the EOS R system, which is how they see themselves expanding their overall profitability and marketing. They want to increase the connections that they have with other businesses to utilize either their components or their branding to be able to bring in more revenue and expand their access to this addressable market. And increasing efficiencies through their manufacturing will increase profit margins so they can generate more revenue if it costs less to make the thing that you're trying to sell. So more automation, more production of products in-house as opposed to sending them out to third parties. Again, pictures of lenses there. As well as simulating things like drop damage, overheating. Maybe that's something that they should have simulated better with the R5 and the R6. And just overall automation to improve efficiencies in production, to reduce costs, to improve overall profitability. Here's where we get into the 3D component. Because remember, it was, expand networking. It was, improve their position in the mirrorless market, can just continue that process. Reduce costs by increasing and improving production and that sort of thing. And 3D, like this is a tentpole component of their plan in 2024, 2025, 2026 to improve profit margins and increase the number of units that they're selling. They really do think that 3D is going to be the direction that they're going to head. So it looks like they almost want to get into the back end game of distributing some of this content, sort of like how Sony does it. Live events, multi-angle, and all sorts of stuff that might be interesting to people who are looking for 3D experiences. They do that by expanding the EOS VR system. They've got the L lens component. It's currently compatible. That 5.2 millimeter VR lens that they have is currently compatible with the EOS R5, the R5C, and the R6 Mark II with firmware updates. So potentially expanding that, as well as continuing to improve on the system in general to offer more ways to generate this content. The other rumor that we're hearing and seeing is that Canon is very soon going to be announcing both an APS-C camera, so an R8, R10, R50, R100 style camera that would have the ability to utilize one of these VR lenses. But of course, the VR lens that's currently available using the RF mount isn't really going to work in that way. It's not like slapping on a regular full frame lens and you just crop in, right? And so they're going to be, and they are developing an APS-C specific version of a VR 3D lens to be able to put on this specific APS-C camera. I don't think this camera is going to be specific to VR. I think this is just going to be a R8 Mark II or something along those lines that will be able to connect to this new VR lens, and this new VR lens will be a smaller version of the current that we have. They also have their M-Reel system, which is kind of expanding the ability to do AR, right? So the depiction that they have is someone doing engine work, which makes sense because that's one of the #1 applications for AR is industrial training, industrial creation, troubleshooting, assisting and working, where you can have someone working on something like a precision piece of equipment remotely or with a trainer remotely so that they can learn how to do something great for reskilling or retraining into a new industry. Senior executives at Canon have expressed a want to really make this technology accessible to a lot of people and to have a lot more options. Where I think things kind of fall flat is the ability for Canon to really get this to people. So unless they plan on creating and distributing their own consumer level headset, which we've seen patents for a headset, the M-Reel system has a headset in it, but unless that's something that they plan to do at the consumer level to compete with, say, the MetaQuest, right? Or the Apple Vision Pro, there are almost 200 million televisions sold a year. Not that many headsets. So I don't know if this is going to end up being an area where Canon can really kind of rely on it being a serious profit and revenue generator, unless they can really get into that corporate industrial market. But even then, they're relying on other vendors to maybe create the additional equipment. They're there to create the content. Personally, I do not see myself creating 3D content anytime soon. I'm having a hard enough time creating HDR content sometimes, and I don't know if I want to add that additional, literally the additional dimension. So let me know down in the comments if you as a creator would be interested in working with 3D, and do you own a 3D headset, and do you enjoy the content that's available now? Do you think the quality's good? Do you think Canon's going to bring something to the market that's going to improve the quality of some of the content that you have available now? I'm really curious to see what your thoughts are. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Again, go ahead and hit the subscribe and like buttons. If this is the kind of thing that you're into, go ahead and check out my video that I will be posting here in the next couple of days about my trip to southern Utah. Went over to Lake Powell, went all over the place, had a great time. So stay subscribed for that. Go ahead and turn on the bell to get notifications when I release it, and I will see you in the next one.